Live from Studio 6B in Rockefeller Center, this is New York Nightly News with Chuck Scarborough.
All right, here to show us what we should and shouldn't eat under these new guidelines is registered dietitian Jessica Levinson. Jessica, welcome.
Thank you.
So what's new here?
So a couple of the guidelines have changed, but for the most part, things have really stayed the same. And as was just mentioned, sodium is the biggest one to really be getting the news around here. So we have potato chips and cottage cheese, a serving of both, and I want to know what you think has more sodium. Well,
I would say obviously I would pick cottage cheese because that's the trick answer here you wouldn't have set it up, but I would say typically if you ask me, I'd say potato chips are pretty salty.
Right.
Yeah.
And so most people think that that's true, but really the cottage cheese has more sodium than chips. And the key takeaway from this is that you need to read the back of the label. So consumers need to look at the back of the packages, see how much sodium is in a serving. And a lot of people, like with the chips, they may see 2 servings in a bag and they think it's a 1-serving bag. So it's important that they read the labels, and you can have both, but have the portion size that's recommended.
And it is surprising how much sugar and salt is hidden in food that you might not think about.
Right. Right. You really have to read the labels, the ingredients. You want to look for the main nutrients, the saturated fat, which is something that was also mentioned.
Number 2, let's take a look at the second setup we've got here. This is good or bad, or what is this?
This is good. This is whole grain cereal with fruit and skim milk, non-fat or low-fat milk. And what we're really demonstrating here is that the gap nutrients that people are missing the most of in their diet are calcium, vitamin D, potassium, and dietary fiber. And from this breakfast, you can get all of those nutrients. Fiber from the whole grains, calcium and vitamin D from the milk, and potassium from fruit. So really, those are things that you want to make sure you're getting more of in your diet, and starting with a healthy breakfast is the way to do it.
Do you recommend whole milk or skim milk or what?
Skim or 1%. Definitely want to stay away from the whole milk. There's saturated fat in that, and even 2% is not the most recommended.
Now, the next dish doesn't look all that satisfying. What is this? What do we have?
So a lot of people, say when they put their food on their plate, they put a big serving of meat, or some sort of protein, and then they have a small serving of a starch or a grain, and then they have a small serving of vegetables. And what this is showing is that you should change the portion sizes completely around. So the vegetables need to occupy the biggest portion of your plate.
So let's go back to that now. The big section. You recommend take this to the restaurant with you and tell them, okay, fill these things up. The big section is not for the meat; it's for the vegetables.
The big section is for the vegetables, and you want to really get those really deep green leafy vegetables, and you want to get. You want to make sure that your grain portion, the quarter of your plate, is the whole grain, and to get the fiber again. And then your lean sources of meat, so your fish, which is really being emphasized, is to increase seafood. Lean cuts of poultry, white meat, chicken breast, and then even lean cuts of steak, because nothing is off limits.
Don't tell me the tiny little thing is for the steak. The smallest segment in there.
A quarter. I mean, the serving of a piece of meat is the size of the palm of your hands. It's just that we have a very skewed vision of that because restaurants don't serve
Lastly,
that.
What do we have? Soda?
We have a glass of soda. So one of the other recommendations is that added sugars are being called out more specifically here, and to limit them. But what I want to make really a point of saying is that nothing is off limits, and the glass of soda, that's an 8-ounce glass, it's 1 serving, and that can be part of a healthy diet as long as it's being balanced with the rest of your healthy day's worth of food and with your physical activity that's going to balance it out.
All right, Jessica, thanks for all the wisdom. We appreciate it. Coming up as New York Nightly News continues.